Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? I'm feeling a bit under the weather. Hopefully it's not the vid. But this video isn't about that. I've been making more shorts lately after taking a break from doing that. And most of them have kind of centered around this idea that you are enough. It's okay to be you. Don't live for somebody else, and life is hard. The basic basic truths that a lot of us face. And I wanted to talk about that more in some depth because it's a big subject and it's a subject that affects a lot of people. You look around and the world is filled with people that don't feel adequate, that are living for somebody else, that really aren't living their own lives. They're not living authentically. They're living according to rules laid down by somebody that just isn't even around anymore. There are people, I talk to my contemporaries, people that are in their 50s, and a lot of them are still living according to what their parents think. Their parents may be still living, and in some cases they've passed on, but yet they're still making decisions as if they're trying to please their parents. And the thing is, they know this. They don't want to do it. They are kind of stuck. This is really ingrained, not just behavior pattern, but belief pattern. And that's tragic because it doesn't just come from their parents. It comes from society. It comes from all different sorts of places. It comes from bad relationships and abusive partners and abusive jobs. All these various messages that we get that we end up taking in, internalizing, and believing. And so very often when I talk more in these videos about the system or the fact that we're getting programmed and that we're being used by other people, a lot of it's coming from a place of compassion. There's anger, to be sure, but a lot of it is just tragic because I look around and I see people that should be living their own lives. They should be making their decisions for themselves, but they're walking around, feeling, bad about themselves and making most of the decisions in their lives trying to please somebody else. I should take care of this dog. All right, well, Pi wanted to be part of the conversation. He didn't want to be left out. But yeah, that's the thing. I watch this not only in other people, but in myself because I have all these belief systems about myself that were implanted by lots of other people, and I still carry them around. And so very often I feel as though I'm worthless, or I can't do anything right, or I'm being selfish if I want something for myself. And these things are, it's like a brain parasite. It's really, really tragic to have this happen. And so we carry around all this baggage, and that blows. That makes me angry. So that's a real phenomenon, is the point. And if that affects you, I feel you. I understand exactly what that's like. And it takes so much time to, I don't want to say get over that, but to process that and to start living your life in a different way. And very often we're made to feel guilty by other people, by hustle culture and what have you. Hey guys, I'm trying to make a video here. When we're like not as fast to do things, when we're not, these really motivated go-getters. And because very often we have this self-doubt we're wrestling with, or we believe that we're going to be disappointing somebody else, or that we don't have a right to live our own lives, make our own decisions. And very often there are other people that don't see the world that way, or there's people that they don't have that same experience. I think it's very important to be compassionate with yourself. Life is hard, and having this emotional baggage makes it even harder. And so if you're getting up every day, you're putting one foot in front of the other, that's a major win. And you don't need to let yourself be gaslit by your job, by your partner, by society, by your parents, whatever the source is, that somehow what they want is more important than what you want. Because it's your life. It's not their life. If you're not hurting anybody else, well then, go for it. You do you. Don't feel guilty, or don't let people tell you what you should be thinking, what you should be believing, how you should be acting. If you're supporting yourself, you've earned your rest. And even then, you don't need to necessarily, you don't need to justify your existence. You don't need to earn your right to rest. You don't need to earn your right to take up space. Just being a human being is more than enough. That's where your real value is, in just being human. Not all of life is transactional, but parts of it are. But the thing is, your value isn't dependent upon those transactions. Your value is just being you. And so many people don't believe that. They really feel as though they need to prove their worth. And that makes me sad. That's not a way to have to go through life. Very often we need these reminders that it's okay just to be us, that it's okay to be where we are. Even if there's some place we'd like to be, there's some change we want to make in our lives, it's still okay to be who we are right now, to have compassion for that person that we are right now, and compassion for the person that we used to be. I was stuck in addiction for years, and I'm glad I'm not there anymore, but I have compassion for the person that I was at that time. And, I still have compassion for myself now on a good day. Sometimes days I'm beating myself up. Other days I realize, okay, well, this life is still hard. That doesn't give me an excuse to say, oh, well, it's too hard, so I'm just not going to participate, or I can't achieve whatever it is I want to achieve. That's not the point. The point is just acknowledging that this is a little difficult. That's okay. People that tell you to just buck up and stop crying, well, they can go screw themselves. Pi definitely says they can go screw themselves, right, Pi? Right. And he wouldn't lie. I talk a lot about the fact that self-awareness and awareness of your situation are really important, because that way you make some changes. You're not just lying to yourself, but that doesn't mean you have to be brutal with yourself. You can have compassion with who you are, where you are, and you have a lot of good points as well as things that you want to change. That's normal. But all too often we just beat the hell out of ourselves because we're doing, what we were taught to do very often. We didn't get told a lot that we were doing great, maybe sometimes, but so many times we've been in situations, which are abusive. I've got a video coming up where I'm going to talk about, a job being very often an abusive relationship with a narcissist. And it sounds crazy until you start thinking about it. And so many of us are in these relationships. Maybe we're not in a relationship with a narcissist at our home, although maybe you might be. But then you go to work and you're definitely in one of these relationships which is one-sided, where somebody holds all the power and it's not you. And that takes a lot out of a person. Takes out a lot out of a person if you're an introvert, just going through life, dealing with all the people. It is emotionally taxing and it's emotionally exhausting to do those things, to deal with small talk and all the people-y things. And so very often, if you find yourself in that boat, have some compassion for yourself as well. The world's not made for introverts. It's not made for smart people. It's not made for people that question things. It's not made for people that want to be authentic. It's made for people that are artificially happy and excited and motivated and greedy and obedient. Not made for a lot of people like us, because it was made by these other people. Doesn't mean that we can't live in it. It means that we have to figure our way, the way that we can live in it, and also realize that it's not the best environment for us. We need to make our own environment. Doesn't that sound profound? But it's true. Life is too short to be living it for somebody else, to be living it according to somebody else's set of desires or rules or goals for you. It's a lot better if we live for ourselves. And we can feel so guilty about that. We're so programmed not to do that. And so it's one of the reasons it's so hard. You want to get down? One of the reasons it's so hard is because, everything in our mind is telling us that this isn't the right thing to do, because we've been told that. We've been told to believe that. So don't believe that. Be good to yourself. Give yourself a break. Life is hard. It doesn't mean it's going to crush you. It just means acknowledging that, yeah, it's difficult sometimes. But, keep putting one foot in front of the other. You'll be all right, no matter what happens. I've been through a lot. And, I found that we can survive anything, just as long as we don't self-sabotage. Anyhow, that may not have made any sense because, of course, I'm sick, but maybe it did make some sense. I'll talk to you later, kids.